How's it going, everyone? So today we're going to take a look at my dividend investing portfolio and see what the projections are over the next 12 months on how much I'm going to earn in my dividends. I love looking ahead and seeing what is going to be possible. Now, we're going to actually hop over on the computer so you can actually see this in real time. I'm currently on my M1 Finance account. This is where I have my investments for most of it, actually, I should say, for my dividends. And right now we've been doing some really good things with our portfolio overall. It's been pretty steady. Our dividends have been coming in nicely. You can see as an all-time so far on this account, we've earned almost $5,300 in dividends. Looks really nice. And for the most part, I'm really, like I said, happy with how it's performing. So there's a few things I want to talk about, and then we're going to go look into the future, see what it's kind of projected to be like with some dividend increases, and actually, for the most part, possibly what it's going to look like without even doing anything more into this portfolio, which most likely we would, obviously, in a 12-month time period. Now, as I get started, I always like to showcase this because I think it's really important. Yes, our account is sitting at $359,299. That's, I think, the actual highest that we have so far on screen. Obviously, interim on the day or sometimes whatnot can be a little bit higher, but I think when recording, this might be the current highest. And again, I just want to show this because it's always important to me. I started this account back in 2019 with about $100, and then I started putting in about $10 a week. And then as I got more income, I started increasing that amount. So if you're somebody who's getting started, don't be intimidated by the larger number. Get started with a small amount. I love using M1 Finance. It's honestly one of my favorites. So if you do want to check them out, I will have a link for you in the show notes. That will be a referral link for me, but it'll also help you get started with going through and signing up. Plus, it lets me continue to do more of what I'm doing here. Now, as we go through this, like I said, just kind of taking a quick look, because we talked about how much we've made so far in this overall account, I do want to show you year to date for where we're at today. So even though we've made about $5,300 total, you can see here dividends earned year to date so far with a couple more months left in this year, we've actually earned almost $1,900. So a good chunk of what we've earned in total for our overall dividends is actually just having been in the last couple of months. So let's actually just run these numbers really quick. This is actually pretty easy. So we're going to do that number and let's go back to our all-time. I'm actually doing this in real time. So just kind of seeing where we're at with our numbers here. So you can see right over here, it is pretty much about almost 35% of our overall dividends that we've ever earned have come in just these technically last 9 months of this year so far. So like that, to me, that just really spells how impactful dividend investing really is, because a good chunk of what we've earned total has come in a very short period of time. Now, I do have a dividend tracker that I showcase here on this channel that I go through. And you can also see it from this perspective as well too. So I'm just zoomed in here. So let me just get it kind of situated. So you can see here so far in 2024, we've made about $2,074.14. The reason it's a little bit different than what our earned dividends is because of the timing of when things actually accumulate on the account. But it still all adds up to the same thing at the end of the day. And you can see we've already surpassed what we made last year in dividends. So that's really, really great to see. And again, we're going to project where we are in the next 12 months overall, just based off of some of these data points as well too. Now, if by any chance you are curious about this dividend tracker, I do have it available if you would like to purchase it. Just a couple of bucks for you. It's also going to be in the show notes. Helps me out. It's something I put together over the years, and I'm really proud of it. I love seeing the dividends and how they kind of grow year over year, month over month, and even quarter over quarter. Now, before we just kind of do our actual projections, I want to go into M1 Finance's feature here. They just came out with a dividend income tracker themselves. It's a little different than mine, so it's like not competition here, to promote theirs, but it is here available for us. So let's go ahead and use this first and foremost, and then kind of just play around with some of these numbers. Now, I'm actually doing this in real time because I was just going to do it myself, and I was like, I might as well just make a video for others who are dividend fans as well. So you can see here, our total income for 2024 right now is projected to be about $2,723.87. Based off of my projections, this is about where we're going to be at the end of the year. Again, where you can see here, we're currently at $2,000. So this last quarter, we're expecting to make a really good chunk. Now, M1 Finance also has this section right over here that says next 12 months. So we can actually do a projection here for us. So if we actually switch this over, now the 12 months is based off of today, so it's not like next year, it's just the next 12 months, but this will again give us some good insight. You can see that our total income is actually closer to $3,000. So that's about a $300 increase from 2024 as of right now. And this is taking a little bit into consideration reinvesting these dividends, which is what we do, of course. Although we don't invest them directly into their individual companies, we prefer to invest them into the companies that we're holding that are maybe a little under in performance. And then, of course, there's also going to be dividend increases that happen on a regular basis. A lot of the companies we have actually do dividend increases. And that's always something I love to talk about because I don't hear it a lot from other people. When companies increase their dividends, that's a pay increase for us for having done nothing else but hold these companies. Now, if we actually go back into my dividend tracker, I created a little tab here, which will be in yours if you decide to purchase it, is our little tracker for when our companies increase those dividends. So for example, we had Microsoft recently, as of this recording, announce a nice dividend increase. You could see here it was 10% for this year. And so what I did was I wanted to put this together so I don't have to go scrounging around to see when these companies pay out. I have a good estimate for when that happens. And when I say payout, I mean that increased payout. And so a lot of our companies for us pay out in February, March, and April timeframe. So we know to look for these increases just so we are aware of them. You know, you can see here like Apple last year or this last year had increased only 4.2%. You could see Ally a couple of years ago increased by 20%. Costco did about 13.7, Discover did about 17 in 2023, and Home Depot did about 7.7 back in 2024. Now, some of the companies we actually have in this portfolio just recently started paying a dividend. So they haven't even run a full year. So we have companies like Booking.com, Meta, as well as Google all recently start paying out a dividend. And I'm really excited to see how they start increasing their dividends. I have a really good suspicion that it'll be double digits for quite some time as far as a percentage goes. And I could easily see some of them being 15, maybe even 20% on that end as well. So for me, I love seeing that because that's, again, an increase for me for having done nothing more than just hold these companies altogether. Like I said, Microsoft did 10%. So I got 10% of raise for having done nothing more. And when you consider inflation is back down to about 2.5%, a 10% raise really goes a long way. Even with the small dollar amounts that we might have, it's still really impactful for us. So let's go back into our tab right over here. And we're not done with 2024 yet. So obviously, these are going to just be some projections and where we're going to be for 2025. But let's go ahead and fill out what we're projecting to make for November and December of this year. Obviously, these are going to be a little bit skewed numbers from these because they're just based off my estimates. But let's say for November of this year, we're looking at $225. And when it comes to December of this year, we're probably going to be closer to like $450. So when we look at how we did for 2024, you could see here our estimate's going to be about that $2,749 that even M1 Finance projected for us. And this is going to be about a 78% increase pretty much for the most part from what we made last year, which is actually really great because you see the trend line was actually going down for how much we were making, but this year actually went up. And when I say going down, it's obviously, 50, 60% increase is still amazing. But at some point, those numbers or those percentages are going to get smaller, even if the dollar amount becomes bigger. And so we kind of want to project that next year we might maybe not keep up at that 77% because I know the Costco increase or special dividend, I should say, had paid out. And so that has an effect on this one as well. So, or for this year as well. So let's go ahead and take some considerations here. So we got $2,749.14. And I was actually projecting us making about a 60% increase this year. So we're actually way ahead of schedule as far as what I was expecting from 2024. But let's go ahead and say we do about 60% more next year than we are this year. So if we actually go ahead and times this by 60%, that would be an additional $1,649. Obviously, if we add that into our current total, right now, if things kind of go to plan and we stay at that 60% increase with our dividend increases, the amount of money we're putting in, we could project right now for 2025 to earn a total of $4,400 pretty much, which is pretty staggering when you look at these numbers and see how it's all compounding for us and seeing the impact that reinvesting our dividends does, staying consistent with our investments all has an effect for us as well too. So this is huge, right? When you divide this by 12, That's averaging about $366.55. Now, I also wanted to do a quick example here of what it would look like with some different percentages. So again, let's go ahead and bring up our number, what we're projected to have for the rest of this year. And let's actually just go ahead and say we kind of missed the mark on the 60%, but let's go ahead and say we did closer to maybe like 50% of our increase. So that would be an additional $1,374. And if we add that in there with our total, we would be looking at $1,423 in our dividends. Now, of course, we can keep playing around with these numbers. I feel pretty confident that we would be around the 50 to 60% increase from the year prior, which is obviously 2024, because not only are we having a lot of those companies that are now getting into a full year of dividend payouts, but they're also going to be having their very first dividend increases, which I think will help allocate all of this extra money that we're going to be expecting to get. And of course, make sure you're followed along to see if that's going to be the case as those companies pay out those increases. I'll have some videos talking about them. Obviously, your companies will be different than mine as a whole, but one great way you can actually do that is, personally for me, what I do is utilize Seeking Alpha. So for me, I'll go in here, go into a company like Microsoft, and in their news section here, I'll be able to just go here to go into the types, type in dividend news, and then I can see the dividend increases and keep up with that. But again, that's also why I keep it in the dividend tracker folder as well too, so that way I can actually see when those dividend increases happen and be aware of them as well too. So over the next couple months, I'll be sharing those dividend increases, what those percentages are, how it's going to impact the overall account with how many shares I have of these companies, because obviously that makes a big difference too. When I have more shares of these companies, that 10% is going to have a bigger increase in the amount that I'll be earning per share, which is always going to be a great thing. And like I said, make sure you're following along if you'd like, and all the resources we talked about here today will be in the show notes down below for you, including my dividend tracker, which you can purchase and help support us out. Now, if you'd like to see the stocks and funds that I have in my dividend investing portfolio, check out the video I have right over here on screen to learn more.